In this video, we'll discuss equations that are not necessarily quadratics, but they have the form of a quadratic. Remember, when we're talking about quadratic form, we're talking about something like ax squared plus bx plus c. And if it's an equation, we would set that equal to 0. So, looking at this first example, we notice that we have an 4x plus 3 squared and a 4x plus 3. So typically, I could multiply this all out and solve it the way I normally solve a quadratic in this particular case, but we like to make a substitution to make things easier for us. So we're going to let u equal 4x plus 3. And so this is going to turn into u squared minus 7u plus 12 equals 0. Now it's important to write this down. You have to identify to the reader what your substitute value is. At this point, we can factor this like we would any quadratic, u minus 3 and u minus 4, and we'll get u is 3 and u is 4. Only we didn't have u. We had x, so we're going to say 3 is 4x plus 3, and 4 is 4x plus 3. This will give me 4x equals 0, so x is 0. This one will give me 4x equals 1, so x is 1/4. So our two solutions are 0 and 1/4. For our next example, it doesn't quite look like the previous one, but it is still quadratic in form. Think of it this way. This is x squared squared minus 7x squared plus 12 equals 0. So I do have a squared term, I have it not squared, and I have a constant. So in this case, I'm going to let u be x squared. So I'll have u squared minus 7u plus 12. This is going to give me u minus 3 and u minus 4 again. So we get u is 3 and u is 4. But again, we didn't have u. U is x squared. So I'll say x squared equals 3 and x squared is 4. Taking the square root, remember to take both the positive and the negative root, so plus or minus root 3. And on this one, we'll get x equals plus or minus 2. You should notice we ended up with 4 answers, and that's indicative of this x to the 4th. We know we could have less than that number of zeros, but we can't have more than that number of zeros. And if we're counting the imaginary solutions too, we'll have 4 all the time. Okay, last example here is also quadratic in form. And I just put a little reminder here that when we have a fraction as an exponent, a to the m divided by n, that's really an nth root of a to the m. In this particular case, you'll notice we have these two pieces here. I'm going to write it this way. X to the 1/3 squared 2x to the 1/3, and I'm going to go ahead and move that 1 over so it's set equal to 0. And in this case, I'm going to let u be x to the 1/3. I usually make it equal to this piece that is in the middle. So now we have u squared plus 2u plus 1 equals 0. This will factor as u plus 1 and u plus 1 equals 0. And solving, we get u equals -1. Again, u is our x to the 1/3. So to solve this, I am going to cube both sides. Let me write it out the other way, because you might not know to do that. But if this were a cube root, we would cube like this. And that's going to give us -1 equals x. Now, all of the examples that I gave you factored, but keep in mind that a quadratic might not factor, and in that case, you could use the quadratic formula. All right, that concludes this video.